Good morning. I've got a question for you. Who do you turn to when the pressure is too great for you in your office, in your role as CEO, COO, whatever the case may be? Amazingly, as life happens, I was out the other evening having an appetizer and a glass of wine, and sitting next to me walked in this man who just started talking and asked what I did. I mentioned I was a business coach. And he just sat back and said, "Oh my God, you're a godsend." And I said, "Tell me why." I'd love to hear that. Tell me why. He mentioned that years ago, when he was new to his position as CEO at a major organization, he had been so excited. He had been COO for a number of years and just wanted to become CEO. He just thought that would be it for him. And he did so. After doing so, realized it's a completely different position. He knew this intellectually, but so often for many of us, until we're in a situation, we don't get it. And he got it and realized that his style as COO worked beautifully for him, but it did not work well for him as a CEO. After several recommendations, he decided to get a coach. And what he was telling me was really quite funny in some ways. We were comparing notes, and he said that his coach allowed him to see that although he had been an effective leader for years, which is how he had worked his way up to his position in this global organization he was in, he realized that his style of leadership needed to change. His way of speaking needed to change. His expectations of the people he was dealing with needed to change. And he was having a hard time doing that. His coach was the gift that allowed him to see new ways of speaking, new ways of leading, new ways of walking into the office with very different expectations of those around him and very different expectations from himself. What had also been happening because this position was so new was that the stress was building up enormously. He started becoming too heavy a drinker. An extra relationship showed up on the side, and more difficulties were beginning to take place. He knew some of his decisions weren't the best, but he was trying to cope without any understanding of how to do so. What he said to me was that when I started working with this coach, we spent 7 hours looking at what was wrong with me. He said, "I never expected that. I thought a coach was going to build me up, but it was seven hours of looking at what's wrong with me." He said, "But then one at a time, I came to see it differently. One at a time, I came to recognize that they weren't wrong. They just needed development, or some of my choices weren't the healthiest, and I needed to backtrack and change my behavior, change how I was doing things, but most importantly, change how I saw things." So my question to you as we were speaking, it was really quite funny. I said to him, it isn't just what coach do you want to work with? I said, the coach has to decide, does he or she want to work with you? He said, "My God, that's what my coach said." I said, if a coach takes just everybody, they don't get to be their best because they're not at their best. We need to know who do we work well with and who works well with us. When you begin to recognize that, you recognize that when there is a team, it's a great working team because the coach becomes that confidant. The coach becomes that one person you can talk to and tell anything to. Completely confidential. You can unload. It goes nowhere in the office. It goes nowhere at home. It stays there. It really creates a relationship that supports you in becoming the leader you want to be, in sustaining a position without paying the price that you pay when you're attempting to go through it alone, without someone to give you a more objective perspective, without somebody willing to call you on your stuff when you're letting it out. Give yourself support. Provide yourself with the assistance you need. None of us can do this alone. And when you're placed into a position where the responsibilities are increased dramatically, where the people you're in reference to, the people you're working with, are dramatically different, give yourself a break. Hire a coach, turn to somebody who can support you, who can allow you to be your best self, to be the best leader you can be, and to have the best vision you want for your life, as well as for this position. Because remember, we are so much more than just the jobs we do. Most of us have relationships outside of the office. We have another self. There's a whole picture there about your own self-care, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in your relationships, financially. So many different things to look at than just that one position that you've been working so hard to achieve. And congratulations on that. But do look at who can support you when the pressure is too great. Have a great day.